This is Central Texas Living with Ann Harder.
Hello, everybody. I love bringing you the stories of interesting people who are doing wonderful things to make Central Texas such a great place to live. So it is my pleasure to introduce you to Dave and Adrienne Innis, who have really just recently located to Central Texas, to Waco, from Nashville.
That's right.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us, Ann.
Well, it is just recently I had the opportunity to meet you, Dave and Adrienne, and you know, I said this when we performed together because you are an amazing pianist.
Thank you.
That you really are a
kind.
gift. You were a gift of God to me.
I'm
Because
a journeyman keyboardist. I'll give you that.
Well, you are a great keyboardist, and let's go ahead and tell them what you did for 40 years.
Well, I was on the road and recording with Restless Heart, which is a country act out of Nashville, and a bunch of other stuff. I was a staff writer at Warner Brothers, Warner Chapel, and I did a lot of session work before Restless Heart. In fact, Restless Heart was just kind of a side hustle at the time. It was
Really?
it was a project that we were having fun with, but we didn't know it was going to take off like it did. But I was so busy writing for Warner Chapel and doing recording sessions, I thought that was what my career was going to be, and get into producing other people's records and all that kind of thing. And then Restless Heart just blew up, and suddenly we were opening for Alabama for 2 years.
Well, and this all started in 1984.
Did it?
Right.
Okay.
It did. That's what I said.
83-ish, yeah.
Yeah,
They were
that's,
putting things
well,
together,
that,
yep.
okay.
The band probably started in 82, trying
okay.
to do...
Well, and you had a different lead singer that
Yeah.
kind of started off with you.
Originally,
Vernon,
a guy
yeah.
named Verlon Thompson.
Verlon Thompson.
From Oklahoma.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
who married the Demetria Kalodimos, the
Yes.
news anchor in Nashville.
Really?
Yeah.
Lovely couple.
So he decided he didn't want to do it because he knew that it was going to be too many hours away from home, and he wanted to, be with his wife and family. So, I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but, I'm very blessed to have had that long career with Restless Heart. And, we still stay in touch, but we've decided not to tour anymore, at least till, the reunion tour.
Which I hope is soon. But so what happened? I understand it was COVID that really sort of made the decision for you
COVID,
guys.
well, it helped.
Yeah.
And here's how. First of all, there were a lot of people obviously suffering and a lot of folks out of work. But, in my industry, it devastated the live part of it. People were still recording and writing, obviously, but the touring part, they shut down all the venues. Because you couldn't have crowds of more than, what was it originally, 10?
Oh, yeah.
It was, 30 feet
So
from
so the
singing.
jazz musicians in town went, oh, so a normal audience, yeah. That's a jazz joke.
I get it.
I shouldn't do that.
But you are a great jazz player, too.
I love jazz.
Which is a delight for me because,
Oh, yeah, well, we did a gig together.
We did, and I do the old standards,
That's what I love the most, like 40s jazz. That's my jam, girl.
Well, but for a long time, you were churning out hit after hit after hit, and it was during those years I was working in country radio. So, man, I know all your repertoire. I go back to all the YouTubes and go, how the bluest eyes in Texas. Of course, that's one of the huge ones. Well, we're going to hear that.
That's the one that really launched our career in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Honestly, before that, we hadn't had much exposure here.
I think I always thought in the back of my mind, y'all were a Texas band.
Well, because we worked in Texas, probably,
Yeah.
I'd say 75% of our shows were in Texas after we released that song. Before we released that song, nothing, like maybe 5% of our shows.
You couldn't get arrested in Texas.
Well, we could, that's
well,
right.
wait a minute.
Oh, is there more to that story?
Yeah, no, we're not talking about that, but no, never arrested in the state of Texas. We came through opening we opened for George Strait for a while, and Alabama, of course, Hank Williams Jr. Then we did a stint with the Judds and a stint with Reba. So we came through Texas as an opening act or as a middle act on a 3-act bill. But after Bluest Eyes in Texas, we were headlining down here, and it was, Texas has been very good to us, so it's no surprise that Adrienne and I ended up down here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, Adrienne, tell me about yourself. Where are you from, and how did you guys meet?
Born in Colorado, raised in Indiana, lived in Arizona, and decided on a whim to move to Nashville. Not really a whim. I felt like God wanted me to go to Nashville. And so...
Are you a performer, a singer?
No, not at all.
Because it seems like that's...
I sing in the shower, that's it. And silly songs.
And that's good. That's good for you to do that,
yeah.
Great silly songs.
Silly songs to the puppies. That's like that's my sweet spot.
I'm pretty good at that, too.
You are. So
we harmonize.
We met. I was managing one of the oldest, actually the oldest luxury business in Nashville, and
clothing.
Yeah, clothing, and had started doing stylist work with various artists. And my best known client would have been George Jones. He was my guy. He and his wife Nancy. Hi Nancy, I love you.
Yeah.
They really helped me focus getting that side of our business opened up to the music business. So here comes Restless Heart. They were working with.
They needed a lot of work. Is that what you're?
Yes, we actually did. We don't know how to dress ourselves.
Well, I will say that
we're men. Come on.
Yeah, they needed a little help. They were a tiny bit rough around the edges, but you know what? They were such a joy to work with. Their label called and asked if I would do a photo shoot with them, and I said sure, absolutely, I will. So
no nudie suits for these guys, right?
No.
There was I wore a nudie jacket on.
Did you?
On one of the album covers, I think. It wasn't a real super fancy one.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I don't know that ever saw the light of day, but what we did is we recreated like a Rolling Stones when they're sitting on the couch and everyone had on, shiny outfits.
Oh, that's
it was
right.
pretty cool.
Yeah. No, so we met out at the photo shoot, and what he didn't know at the time was that I grew up on Restless Heart, and I was a huge fan. And I was never like a fangirl about anything, but Restless Heart, come on. I mean,
really?
So I called my brother on the way to this photo shoot because he and I used to sit on the hood of his truck and just blare Bluest Eyes in Texas. I mean, it just was the greatest thing I'd ever heard.
Yeah.
When you hear Paul Gregg hit that, "Where did I go wrong?" It was just like, wow.
And everybody's singing along at that point.
And it just resonates. So I called my brother. I said, "Oh my gosh, you're never going to believe I'm on my way to do a photo shoot with Restless Heart." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, sis, this is the best thing that's ever happened to you. I'm telling you." Keep in mind I work with George Jones, but this is the best thing that's ever happened to you.
Yeah, he's kind of a big deal too.
He was.
Yeah.
That's straight out of Anchorman.
I don't know if you know this.
That's right. People know him.
Yeah. But that's how we met. The true story, though, is he had stopped by the store with Paul Gregg, the bass player, and his parents, Dave's parents. And I was on my way out to George and Nancy's to do a fitting, and I was greeting Dave and Paul and his parents, and I was apologizing for the fact that I couldn't stay and personally take care of whatever they needed. And at the same time, I was straightening Gene's tie, Dave's dad, and didn't even realize I was doing it, just habit. And so Dad fell in love with me, didn't he? And the rest was history.
Well, yeah, he did. And then, Dad was saying, you know what, you should ask that Adrienne gal out that manages that Levy store. She seems like a real good gal. I think you should ask her out. And I was like, oh, Dad, she'd never go out with me.
High maintenance. Mm-hmm.
And then he said, why not? And I said, well, she's beautiful. Look at her. She's going to be too high maintenance for me. And he goes, oh, you might be surprised. And then I said, yeah, well, I was driving this old car at the time that I had a Saab 900 Turbo, and it had like 350,000 miles on it.
Your sentimental car.
And when you put it in reverse, it made a terrible noise. And I said, Dad, I can't ask her out. My car makes a funny noise when I put it in reverse. And Dad said, well, just park so you don't have to ever put the car in reverse, and you should be fine.
He had an answer for everything, thank goodness. So here we are.
So he was a little Cupid, and
he was.
Yeah.
And they did crossword puzzles together, and
sweet.
It was pretty cool.
He stole my heart.
So I owe it.
And I thought he was pretty cute too.
our relationship, honestly, to Dad, getting us together,
That is wonderful.
and the other half to you
I suppose so.
for having me.
That's true.
So you've been married
She's very brave.
since 10? I think I read that
2010, yep.
you proposed in 2010.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I called her up on a Monday and said, we're getting married on Thursday. And she said, okay.
Okay.
Really?
It's true. We actually had originally planned to get married on 1/1/2011, so we would easily remember our wedding date, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was more for me.
I couldn't wait that long.
And he did. He called me up on a Monday and said, let's get married on Thursday. And I said, okay. And so we did.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the Justice of the Peace, surprised his parents, didn't even tell me. He said, we're going to go run an errand before I have to go to work.
No, we were going to go to breakfast.
Yeah.
And Dad was looking for the restaurant, and then Mom started figuring it out because
She did.
well, it said hunting licenses and marriage
Fishing,
licenses.
fishing license, marriage license.
So she was like, "What's going on here?" And Dad was like, "Going, where's the restaurant?"
So that's our fun story.
love it.
Yeah. Yep.
We're just as married as anyone else.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, and then after that, we went to Panera, and then Adrienne went back to work.
I did, and I went back to work. It was December.
We went,
I know
but
you
then-
had a lot to do.
It was December.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we've had taken vacations.
You've had some
together.
lovely trips.
We've had some lovely trips.
We have.
Well, you had the opportunity to do a lot of traveling.
Oh my
So
gosh.
during the course of your marriage, I guess you spent some alone time, or did you have a chance to, what? So how do you deal with?
It's
with
so
that?
funny because I always thought I should marry a musician because I'm so independent, and I was very independent. Really had my own trajectory in doing things, and I just thought, I should marry a musician. It'll be terrific because they'll be on the road all the time. Well, be careful what you wish for, folks, because when you actually really, truly love somebody, then you don't want to be apart from them. So that's what we discovered really quick. We always say, sometimes that rubber band just stretches so far between our hearts, when he had been on the road. But you
I
find
get
a way.
separation anxiety if you just go in the other room.
We-
I start to panic.
It's true. No, we really, and it's kind of funny because he traveled so extensively.
Yes, right. What was
During
the
the-
longest stint? What was the longest
Well, you were
period?
gone a
of-
month.
Back in the day. Now, are you talking since I've been married to Adrienne?
since you've been
No,
married, yeah.
Like a month or
A
so.
month.
Oh, but that's a long time, yeah.
And you
Yeah,
were,
but back in the day, it'd be like 3 months
Really?
sometimes. Yeah, we'd
Just
go out.
keep going.
Well, those
just keep
big
going.
tours, they go out and they stay out, and then they're done for the year. But we were primarily what we called weekend warriors. So we'd leave on Thursday or on a Wednesday, depending on when the show was, and then we'd work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever, and then we'd come back to town. So everybody in the last phase of our touring, the last 2 decades of it, based out of Nashville, the first decade of which I was based out of Colorado, Colorado Springs. And then, I got tired of the commute. So once the kids were in college, I had my son went to the Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Which where you went?
Yeah, I went there among other places, but he actually graduated from that school and is in the music business in Los Angeles.
Wow, that nut didn't fall far from the tree, as my daddy would say.
I always say he's the new updated turbocharged version of me. He's the new OS. I'm the OG. He's the new OS. And my daughter was in Montecito, going to an art school there in Westmont, and she's a working artist in Los Angeles too.
That is fabulous. Beautiful art that is hanging in your home that she's done. I've
Yes.
been
she's
able to
wildly talented. She's just truly impressive. Isabella Innis art for anyone who's interested in checking her out.
see.
Yeah, just Google Isabella Innis. All kinds of stuff comes up.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a little break, but when we come back, we are going to hear The Bluest Eyes in Texas, and we're going to find out how you two Nashville folk made it to Central Texas. So
that sounds fun.
stay with us.
Hey, I'm April April.
Hey, I'm Caroline, and this is Bloody Happy Hour,
Your newest true crime comedy podcast.
So grab your favorite drink and join us every week for Thirsty Thursday.
We promise to tell you the bloodiest stories and give you a laugh in between. Go find us, follow us, and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, because guess what?
We're about to be sipping on some murder.
F-Bomb. This is Mandy and the F-Bomb, where we shed light on stories and invite you to find your place and purpose in the world of foster care. Through my involvement with families involved in foster care and being a foster mom myself, I've learned that it's the things that wreck us the most profoundly that can stitch us back together into the best, purpose-filled versions of ourselves. Tune in to Mandy and the F-Bomb. It's stories that invite you in to find your place and purpose in the world of foster care. You can find us anywhere you get podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing.
That lonesome Texas sun was setting slow, and in the rearview mirror I watched it go. I can still see the wind in her golden hair. I close my eyes for a moment, I'm still there. The bluest skies in Texas are haunting me tonight, like the stars that fill the midnight sky. Her memory fills my mind. Where did I go wrong? Did I wait too long? Or can I make it right? The bluest skies in Texas are haunting me tonight. Another town, another hotel room, another dream that ended way too soon. Left me lonely and praying for the dawn, searching for the strength to carry on. The bluest skies in Texas are haunting me tonight, like the stars that fill the midnight sky. Her memory fills my mind. Where did I go wrong? Did I wait too long? Or can I make it right? The bluest skies of Texas are haunting me tonight. For every heart you break, you pay a price. But I can't forget the tears in her blue eyes. The bluest skies in Texas are haunting me tonight, like the stars that fill the midnight sky. Her memory fills my mind. Where did I go wrong? Did I wait too long? How can I make it right? The bluest skies in Texas are haunting
Back again with Dave and Adrienne Innis, who are telling us about their lives as he, of course, a professional musician. Dave with Restless Heart for 40 years.
Yes.
Playing these great songs. You just heard The Bluest Eyes in Texas, which you say was your entree to coming to Texas a lot. You played all over this great state. And I've got some favorite places in Texas.
Yeah.
But let's talk about when you decided no more Restless Heart, you could live anywhere you wanted to. How did that whole process go? I heard you
This
were
is the
kind
gal
of
that
you were
has
the
the-
catalyst for this.
She's got the story.
True.
I was just a guy that said, "Oh, that sounds good, honey.
No.
Yeah, that's right. I'm along for the ride, right?
Not quite. Not quite.
Whither thou goest, I goest
there you go.
also."
That's it.
That's it right there. So during COVID, I worked with the elderly. I worked in an assisted living as a coordinator. And as you can imagine, being on lockdown with 100 residents and being the one person that is allowed to go in the rooms
Right.
of each person, I would go in rooms 4 times a day trying to, keep their spirits up, make sure that they had their, emotional and spiritual needs met, and that they were engaged and all the things. And Dave was such a trooper through all that. I would FaceTime with him, and he would sit at our piano at home and play to each resident and talk with them, so they had some other
Sweet.
contact. But long story short, one of the things that just was a stress reliever for me after a 14-hour day, and you come home and you do all the things to decontaminate. And I would pull up Zillow and I would start looking at houses and go, okay, if I could go anywhere, where would I go?
All day Sundays.
That was that
That was your entertainment.
After
huh?
church,
It was-
we'd
it
eat
was
some lunch, and then
therapy.
she'd be buried in the,
Therapy. Truly. And so-
Realtor.com.
Uh-huh.
And we
Zillow.
looked worldwide. I mean, I looked in Spain, France, Italy, Greece, you name it. I mean, Australia. We looked all over, and finally, but every single time I would look, I would always start at Waco and end on Waco.
Why?
I felt like it was just this little seed that was planted by the Holy Spirit. I truly do.
Amen.
I do.
Yeah.
I believe it
I
too.
do.
Yeah.
Kind of like that leap of faith it took me to go to Nashville from Phoenix and start a whole new life and reinvent. It was the same feeling that this is something that we need to look into. We need to really, really, really. So then we started narrowing down on Texas, and we looked at every
And
city.
you had a great exposure all over the state. Wonderful places. Some of the hill country, the Panhandle. I mean, there's
well,
everywhere.
I was like, well, what about New Braunfels? What about Fredericksburg? What about Georgetown? What about San Antonio? What about San Angelo? What about Lubbock?
It went
What
on
about,
and on.
we
Fort
lived in
Worth?
Lubbock a while.
A little too weathery
Not
for
so
me.
much. I got a buddy that lives out there with a band that I've played with a couple of times. They used to open for Restless Heart, and then they were opening for ZZ Top some, I think. And when I moved to Waco, then he was like, "Hey, dude, you're in the state. We got a show in Dallas. You want to play?" And then of course I said, "Yeah." And then I think he had another one in Fort Worth, but yeah. So Restless Heart used to play a lot in Lubbock, but we just played
Nicest
everywhere
people,
around here.
wonderful people.
Yeah.
But
All
I think they
Texans
kind
are
of have.
wonderful.
Well, but no, there was something a little different about Lubbockites.
Well,
is that they were just really,
is that right?
really friend. Yeah, and I was because they were so
It's not
isolated.
just Lubbock. I got news
Yeah.
for you. This
Yeah.
state, the people in this state
Incredible.
are there's nice. That's like, bless your heart, hun, nice,
Yeah.
And then there's authentically nice and outgoing, friendly people, and that's what I love about Texas.
But that's what I love about Waco, and that's what we found. So we we started drilling down on Waco, and I just said we just got to keep praying about it. And I sat up one night and I had found a real estate company that I thought, this is the one we're supposed to use. So I just emailed Camille Johnson out of the blue at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. And what impressed me so much, she got back to me within 30 minutes.
That does not surprise me.
And
at all.
said, I've
Yeah.
got the perfect person for you, and absolutely we want to take care of everything you need. And I had said, I'm in assisted living, and my husband is Dave Innis from Restless Heart. Well, I'm so used to describing when you work in something. I work in, but I had omitted the word work. I'm in assisted living. So Camille later admitted to us
We
that
could get you to Hardis, or
oh
we could.
my gosh, she was like, that poor man, what a saint he must be. His little wife is in assisted living. What's he going to do with her?
That poor man.
Bless his heart.
Yes, exactly. So she got us together with Alice and Stanley, and I had sent her this house that I just kept going back to. I know, it's hysterical. And so we looked at it on FaceTime and bought it
Off of
FaceTime.
FaceTime, just, yeah.
And we said, okay, cool.
Well, it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
It is lovely. It's been redone.
It has. It's a 1965 ranch. We love it. It is.
I love that
totally
neighborhood.
No
you know.
stairs. That was a
Yeah,
big
no
deal.
stairs that was our criteria.
In Nashville, we had
Three sets of
two-level
stairs.
home with a walkout basement where you park, garages, full basement,
much.
and I had my studio down there, and the laundry room was down there, and
The garage.
And your
the man
carry-ins.
cave. And so anytime you had to, come back to the house with groceries, you had to go up a flight of stairs, which, didn't bother us a bit. We didn't think, but then suddenly, when it came time to move, it was like, okay, no stairs. Let's the next house that we are in, we want to be our forever
Right.
home, and so
One
that
level.
we were very careful about where we chose to spend this next chapter of our lives.
Which is why we bought the first house we looked at.
Yeah, that was our forever
just
house
kidding.
too.
But it really, we
Well-
knew it was. I'd been looking at it for a while and just
Beautiful,
seeing
yeah.
it. Yeah, and we hopped on a plane, came
Well,
down, and the rest
yeah.
is history.
Well, see,
Yeah.
because I see it, and I think, oh, you guys are so stylish and wonderful that you gutted this house and redid it. And you go, no, it was done. It was
Yeah,
already
we just walked in.
No,
it's
I
beautifully
found the
done,
one
yeah.
that was already done. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me?
Well, and then you did a little addition in the back,
Studio, yeah.
and it is
Built a studio.
wonderful as well.
Yes, it's so comfortable out there, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it is, and you got a screened in. You're going to enjoy your
Screened-in
outdoor. Are you a gardener? Do you like piddling
I'm
around
an
with?
amateur gardener. I really try hard to not kill everything, and so far so good. I'm going to knock wood on that. But I'm thinking about a couple of raised beds. But right now it's just all about keeping a little space in the back 40 for those two little critters running
Right,
around.
you
And
got cute
Remember
little
when
puppies.
we rented that garden space?
we did garden for
We
a while.
grew tomatoes and
Oh,
watermelons.
did you kind of like an
and-
allotment in England? Do they have? Yeah.
We lost our pastor 10 years ago from Nashville. He passed away very suddenly.
Oh,
And so we had established this garden in his honor for our church. It's kind of a place to go work out your grief. And if you needed food, it was a good place you could go and you could
yeah,
Harvest.
some
Get as
spinach
many
or whatever you
vegetables
want.
as
Yeah,
you
so
want.
it was a really therapeutic thing, and so that's pretty
That's
much our
neat.
one
Yeah.
and only experience with gardening, other than a little bit at the assisted
And
living.
squash and zucchini.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did great with
and,
it.
Yeah.
tomatoes.
They're-
Ooh, boy, we
Well,
had
and
tomatoes.
basil, you can grow.
We did a
basil
lot
and
of
do the
herbs,
best homemade pesto, and
Uh-huh.
I love gardening. We could. Well, I have to take you
You're
around to
gonna
my
have to
favorite
teach me.
places.
Please do.
Yeah, it's. But stick with the native plants. I mean, there are some things that just the
Don't-
Texas climate's not so happy with. So you moved here in the summer. So
June.
and
yeah.
it was not as bad a summer as we are known to have. So it's good.
I will tell
It was
you that,
actually a great summer, I
Good.
thought.
but we
And does it get hot in Nashville? I mean, was it like
And
humid?
humid. Very humid.
100%
And people
humidity.
complain about the humidity here, and I'm like going, "Pfft,
Everyone
Yeah.
You know
kept
nothing about
apologizing to
humidity.
us that first couple of months.
So
I'm so
sorry,
sorry
so
about the humidity. I'm like,
what
humidity are they talking about? I didn't know.
Nashville,
Yeah.
you walk out your front door and you're just soaking wet before you get to the car.
Yeah, that's how Houston can
Kind
be
of like
that.
Houston.
Yeah, I
Maybe
lived in-
not as bad
I
as
lived in
Houston.
Houston, and
Yeah.
it's hard.
I've got cousins in Houston, and they just love it. And,
Yeah.
and it's a great
It's a great city. Oh
it's
yeah,
the biggest city in Texas.
I
isn't
think
it?
so. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the biggest
I'd
cities
say.
in the United States.
Mhm.
Yeah. Bigger than Dallas, Fort Worth. Yep.
I think you are right. I'm just thinking broadcast markets.
Hey,
I kind of go by that. New
Hey, I
York is
read
one,
that.
and then move down.
I read that on the internet, so you know it's true.
It has to be like everything I read about Restless Heart on Wikipedia. Well, but we talked about, and people were able to hear the bluest eyes in Texas. But you did a lot of a lot of songs
Yep.
over the years. Did you get tired of them when you'd be
Never.
doing these shows? You didn't. I think that's amazing and wonderful.
No,
They're great songs.
on so many levels, I never got tired of them.
Yeah.
First of all, they were the songs that were sustaining our career and songs that were standing the test of time that people wanted to hear. And when you're playing music for people that want to hear it, it's way better than playing music that they've never heard and that they aren't interested in. And honestly, we transitioned as a band from playing songs that we'd recorded that no one had ever heard of, but we had like maybe one hit on the radio that was getting airplay, right? To 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and we just kept cranking out the songs. We had RCA Records was very good to us. They had a great promotion staff. Radio embraced us.
It takes a village for it to happen.
Oh my gosh, does it ever?
But
We
you
had
have the best fans in the world. I mean, that's hands
marketing,
down.
promotion.
I mean, those fans, they were so committed to introducing your music to their children and even their grandchildren. And that's
to get to those fans was
Yeah.
the initial thing because they had never heard of us. And so, this is why our label put us on tour with Alabama. That was their flagship artist. And so we had 2 years opening for them. And so we got our faces out there all across America. We started making fans. And I told you the Bluest Eyes in Texas story. Once we broke into the Texas market, our Texas fans were the best in the nation,
That's
and
great
and
to
still
hear.
are.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of people. We call it, well, to us it's two-stepping. If you're out there doing the two-stepping, but if you're standing on stage looking, it's a bunch of cowboys dancing backwards.
Just kind of scooting around.
Yeah, they'd be watching the band as they went backwards. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm not that coordinated.
So many great songs, though.
Oh, thank you.
And and it was fun for me to refresh my memory on a lot of those songs that when I worked at Waco 100, that was the soundtrack back in the 80s was your music. Yeah, that's when those hits were just coming out. And I just am delighted to get to meet you and to get to know the both of you.
Oh, we're delighted
Likewise.
to be here. And,
Thank
and of
you.
course, I met you. Let's see, you called because for the show we ended up doing together. And
I was in a pickle because my accompanist's
So you
mom
called-
had passed away, and it was a tragedy.
so you called Gary at the church that I
Gary
at,
Rhodes and
that's Woodland.
No, I said Highland. He was at Highland. He was my music
Woodway.
minister for
Woodway
30 years at
Baptist.
Highland Baptist Church.
Yeah.
Moved to First Woodway, and
Yeah.
we've been at First Woodway now for 10 years, I guess. But but Gary had the chance to meet you because you played for the choir.
I did.
There's a
they had the
big
orchestra.
piano intro,
Right.
tough one.
Yeah.
And so
was.
he needed somebody
Well, his
with the
pal
chops
Chris
to do
Womack
it.
asked me to do it. Chris is plays the piano for the choir there. Great guy, and we met as a result of a guy in our. We've been going to Sunday school over at
Columbus,
Columbus
yeah,
Avenue
yeah.
Baptist, and because Fred and Camille.
Yeah, that's
asked
right.
us
They
over
invited
there.
you there, so
Yeah, and you don't say no ever to
No.
Fred and Camille. It's kind of like I used to always say, don't ever say no to the Grand Ole Opry.
Correct.
So
Right.
we never did.
That's
we used
another
to
thing.
perform
You
there a lot.
Played at you're the
Yes.
first artist I've ever met who actually played on that stage, and that's just
Really?
I'm just in awe.
Oh, well.
And you
Don't-
know Ray
don't be-
Stevens.
I'm in
He
awe
knows Ray
of
Stevens.
of the Opry. That's one of the most.
Yeah, isn't it such a remarkable institution?
It's
I
going
guess.
to church,
such a
you know.
family.
Yeah,
too.
it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I also was had the opportunity to substitute as the house piano player out there because the house
you?
piano
Yeah.
guy and I were pals. We're still are pals. Yeah. So Randy Hart, great player, and so he called me up and said, "Hey man, I can't make it. Would you fill in?" And I said, "Yeah." And so that was so much fun. I got to work with a lot of different artists and a lot of young artists.
Yeah, great up and coming talent
yeah,
that
so-
they shine a light on, which is
Yeah, but
Wonderful.
also some of the older artists. I mean,
Yeah.
My favorite was we were at the Opry one time, and
that was at the Ryman we were
at the
doing.
Ryman. They
I know
would
the
move to
story
the
she's
Ryman.
telling.
Right.
In the winter, they would move to the Ryman because typically it would be the Rockettes that would be out at Opryland. But so we were back there, and we were newly married at the time, and Jim Ed Brown, who I just adored, was playing, and his piano player didn't show up.
Got stuck in traffic or something.
And so Michelle Capps, who was just a big part of the backstage team,
Her husband was also the guitar.
Jimmy,
One of the
yeah.
guitar players,
Incredible.
Jimmy Camps. Yeah, great player.
Such a cat.
We called him Sheriff.
Yeah, amazing. But she said, I don't know what to do. And I said,
I know a guy.
I know somebody.
He can play.
I said, ask Dave. She said, what? And I said, no, seriously. I said, just go get Dave. He'll do it. And I didn't even ask him.
Oh, my goodness.
Said, honey, I
So
volunteered
just
you
at the last second, you're
yeah.
playing.
I walked out onto the stage. They were all, getting ready to play, and I just slipped right in behind the piano, and the bass player was close to me, so he would just hold up a finger for what chord it was,
Yeah, yeah.
And I,
The Nashville method, right?
Yep.
For those chords
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
the only thing I would have, and I was okay doing that. I mean, I've sat in with a lot of bands and,
Yeah.
over the course of my career, but that works except for when they go, piano has the intro, you're going, I don't know this song.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, what key are we in?
I'll just figure something out.
But
That's a
that-
great story.
Well, we
That was
stayed
an honor.
married, so that
And then I had a lot of opportunities to get to know Jim Ed Brown more because when I was substituting as a piano player for the Opry I don't know, I probably did it a half a dozen times or something over the course of a couple of years. And it was really interesting to me because they had a bullpen where all of the musicians that were going to be working and backing up the other artists for the evening and the vocalist and what have you, they'd meet in this bullpen that was to this, back in the wings. And, it'd be playing a song that you were going to be doing and you'd be following along in your chart that you'd taken or whatever. And then there'd be a little rehearsal, just a quiet where you could
just real
talk
quick.
over it.
Talk through it and
Just talk
that
through.
makes sense. Yeah.
And the thing that I was so fascinated by is Jim Ed Brown would be there a lot just to hang with the musicians.
such an amazing.
He'd
man.
come early just because he loved to hang. And, that's the thing about being in the working musician. I told my son that when he was coming up. He said, what's, the most important thing? I said, well, there's a lot of most important things, but one is it's not enough to be a good player. You got to be a person that people want to hang around because you're just, you got a good vibe. And he took that to heart, and he's doing all right.
Yeah, you certainly
is.
have that. I mean, not a temperamental. I mean, I'm sure there are some musicians that, can be a little bit problematic.
I guess if you're good enough, you can behave any way you want.
Well, you are plenty good enough to behave any way you want. I like to end these little visits, though. This is a little questionnaire similar to the one the late, great James Lipton would use on Inside the Actor's Studio.
I love that.
Yeah, and so I'll just kind of alternate between the two of you. We'll start with Dave. What is your favorite word?
Love.
That's a good one.
I chose well.
Yes, you
I chose
did.
wisely.
Okay, do you have a least favorite word, Adrienne?
Optimized.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. What turns you on creatively, emotionally, or spiritually? And I'll ask both of you that. We'll start with Dave.
Optimization. Hey, now we Bible study together and read a little scripture in the mornings and that's one of the reasons why we're just best of friends. But let's see. Golly, that was a long question. What was the?
Well, what turns you on creatively, or spiritually, or emotionally?
Well, sometimes ideas just kind of drop on me anyway, and it's almost like I'm taking dictation, just trying to write it down fast enough. Playing in ensembles where you're being pushed by the other musicians, being around people that just are doing it because they love doing it. Like when you and I performed together, we were just two performers that were enjoying just getting to do that. It's such a blessing to even have the talent to play in the first place. Yeah. And I could go on and talk for 8 hours about that, but enough about me. What about you?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is just the foundation that we've set for ourselves that inspires me and gets me charged up and going. And we start every single day the same way. One of us, whoever wakes up first, will say, "This is the day that the Lord has made," and the other
we
says,
will rejoice and be glad.
Be glad in it. Yeah.
And just knowing that we have set ourselves on that stone every day, that's what gets me going. And the other thing that just inspires me completely is this guy. He is a dreamer of dreams. I mean, he's so talented. He has such vision. He has
I
an
snore.
amazing. He does, but he
while
had,
I'm
I mean,
dreaming.
he has an amazing mind and just has such creativity and it's hard to not want to match that. So he's.
You
Stone-
push me.
Stone sharpens stone.
She's the rock star of the family.
No.
Oh yeah, she's. I mean, definitely the better half.
You're both wonderful. What sound do you love the most?
The sound of Adrienne's voice.
That's sweet.
I know where my bread's
I was
buttered.
going to say.
Oh, brother. The sound of you playing when it's something you want to play.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference.
Yeah,
You can
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell what little we've worked together. You're playing, and you just love playing. You love you love those songs. You really did love those songs. And that really spoke to me. I picked up on that right away. What is your least favorite sound?
SpaceX.
You took my answer. Get out of my brain.
Especially if you're recording something at about the time that it starts to rumble.
We moved down here, and the first time it was like, what? I thought it was a train, and then I thought it's a tornado.
Yeah,
because tornadoes
It
can
sound like a train. Yeah,
and then no, it's SpaceX.
That's SpaceX. Yeah.
Mine too.
But they brought jobs to Texas.
Yeah.
So,
what other profession would you have liked to try?
well, my folks thought I was going to be an attorney. They just, which there's no way I could have done.
Were you argumentative as a child? Is that what I'm hearing? Or?
Not particularly argumentative. I'm a pretty affable guy. But honestly, and this is advice that I later gave my son when he, came to me with puppy dog eyes when he was about 8 or 9 and said, "Dad, I want to be like you. I want to be in the music business." And I was like, "Son, if there's... I want you to take 2 weeks. If there's anything else that interests you that you think you could be passionate about, figure that out and then come back and talk to me." And he comes back about 2 weeks later and he goes, "Dad, I'm so sorry. I just have so much music in me. I've just got to get it out."
At 8?
Yeah.
I love it.
And I said, "Okay, well..."
Then you be a musician.
Yeah, I said that's the right answer. If you want to be in music, you just you have to. It's a calling, like a, for me, it's almost a ministry, and in some instances, is straight up.
It definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah, like playing at assisted living or memory care, or doing those kind of things. Which you walk away from that, and you're the one that got ministered to. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention Isom. Is definitely your kid because he's in a band that a lot of people will recognize.
Young people.
Foster the People.
Foster the People.
Foster, yeah.
Yeah, Foster.
Well, the lead
People.
singer that
Foster.
started the band is a guy named Mark Foster, very talented.
That's great.
Yeah, and Isom's been with them since the beginning, and they tour all over the world and play Coachella and all the big, Bonnaroo and all the big ones. Yeah, and he's really good. But he's doing it because he loves doing it. And if you love in any arena, in any profession, any career, if you love what you're doing and you're passionate about it, it's not work.
It's not work. It's not work. So I will ask you both, what do you want to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome, good and faithful servant.
That's a good thing.
Your mom and dad are down at the coffee shop. They're waiting for you.
They're waiting to
Yeah.
have a cup of coffee.
What do I want to hear?
I
You
suppose
made it.
Yeah.
You made it?
You made it.
Yeah.
I want to go sliding into home plate. Just,
That's honestly,
I
that's
mean,
probably
that's
closer
it.
to what I'd settle for that.
I
Well, we're gonna let you in on a
no,
contingency.
We both know that there's nothing on this earth that we can do other than get up every day, suit up, show up, and do the next right thing. And that's our calling. That's our job. We're going to take the high road. And
Try.
We're going to try. And so when we get there, we can honestly approach our Lord and say, I know we fell short every single time, but we tried.
Yeah.
And our heart
We
was in
were
it.
listening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you, Waco has won the jackpot with the
Oh.
two of you coming here
Oh, you're so
to Central
sweet to say
Texas, and we could go on and on, but
that. Absolutely.
I think our cameras need to
Are
go
we
to
out of
sleep for a little bit.
time?
I think there's a little bit of an out time, but I'm so glad to get to visit with you both, and let's
Thank
do this
you.
again sometime.
And thank you so much. And the answer is for you is always yes.
Absolutely.
Hey, Dave and Adrienne Innis, good to have you with us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Central Texas Living is part of the Rogue Media Network family. Be sure to check out their other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate us 5 stars on iTunes and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Living, the podcast.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.